Hi dolls, welcome back to my channel. I hope everybody's having a fabulous day. If you're new here, welcome. If you're a returning watcher, welcome back. Make sure you smash that subscribe button and smash that notification bell. Today we are going to go ahead and do a step-by-step tutorial on how to do acrylic using a Dashboard Beauty number 12 100% Kolinsky brush. So the first step I usually like to do is I like to push back my cuticles. Get as much of it off the nail bed as I possibly can, and that way if you push back your cuticles, it helps prevent lifting after you do your application. And then I like to go ahead and I like to take my e-file and I like to just finish cleaning off the cuticle area and then just lightly take the shine off the natural nail and rough it up just a little bit. That way it helps the products stick better. And I'm doing this at a very low speed and a very light touch. You don't have to press hard whatsoever, and you don't have to have your e-file turned up to a high speed. And then when I'm done with that, I go ahead and I clean the nail off completely. I brush it off with my brush, and then I size out my tips. And I try to measure my tips sidewall to sidewall, so there's not so much overhang over, so it fits as perfectly as it can to the natural nail without hanging over or without me having to actually press the tip down real hard to make it fit the nail. So I go back and forth between a couple tips until I find the one that I like. And as you can see, this one fits perfectly sidewall to sidewall. There's no overhang or anything on it, so that's the one that I'm going to use. This one is just a little too big. There's some overhang, and I would have to do too much filing if I was to use that tip. So I decided to go with the other one instead. So now that I have my tip, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and put some base coat on the nail. And after I put a little bit of base coat on the nail to help adhere the tip, I'm going to go ahead and just put a little blob of the base coat on the nail tip itself. And then I'm going to stick it underneath the light for 30 to 60 seconds. To make sure that it adheres good to the nail. And as you can see, it's stuck pretty good. So then next what I like to do is I like to just crispen up the edges with my hand file. I am using my 8080 nail file, and I'm going to go ahead and just crispen up the free edge and crispen up the sides just a little bit. Nothing too much because the nail fits pretty good. But I just like to do a little bit more pre-shaping before I get started on the application, just to make sure. That saves me filing and shaping in the long run at the end. It saves just a little bit of time. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my e-file and I'm just going to lightly blend in the nail tip to the natural nail and then remove the shine from the nail tip itself. That way it roughens it up a little bit and the product sticks a little bit better to it as you're going. And then I'm just going to clean up the sides a little bit. And you want to go ahead and you want to just make sure that the tip is nicely blended into the natural nail, not too rough, but just enough so there's not that lump when you go ahead to start putting on your product, because of the fact you want it to be flawless. And then I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to wipe off the dust and clean it up. I'm just using a little bit of 91% isopropyl alcohol. I'm going to go ahead and wait for it to dry, and then I'm going to get started with the acrylic application. So first I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to dehydrate the nails with some dehydrator. And then as soon as that dries up, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put on some primer. Now, when doing your nails and you want your nails to last for a while, these are the two steps that you do not want to skip. You want to go ahead and make sure you dehydrate the natural nail. As you can see, I'm just putting it on the natural nail and then primer on the natural nail. And then once that dries, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get my number 12 100% Kolinsky Dashboard Beauty acrylic brush ready, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start the process. And you guys, I love this brush. It is absolutely my new favorite acrylic brush. I've worked with it on another video, and now I'm working with it on this video. It just, look how nicely it picks up the bead. And as I'm waiting for my bead to polymerize, this brush just makes your application flawless. It's not too big and it's not too small, and I like when the acrylic does not get stuck in the brushes, because some brushes you have to really keep cleaning it really good because of the fact that the acrylic gets stuck in the brush. And the way this is made, it's very good quality, and I really like this brush. Like I said, it's my new favorite. So normally you want to do, some people do a 1 bead method, some people do a 2 bead method, some people do a 3 bead method. I try to stick to a 3 bead method, but I'm basically how many ever beads it takes to make my application look good. So I usually start at the tip of my nail and then I work my way back down. You don't really want to brush really hard. You really want to do more padding, like on the edges. Padding, and you just want to have the lightest touch possible when working with acrylic, because what'll happen is if you take the brush and you're rubbing too hard trying to spread out the acrylic, what you're going to do is you're going to rub most of the acrylic off, and we don't want to do that. We don't want to waste our product. We want to leave as much on there as we possibly can, but we want it to be smooth and we want it to be crisp. And like I said, I like to leave the acrylic on the brush a little bit, let it polymerize, and let it become smooth and buttery before I apply it on the nail. And then that way it helps out more. It's not so runny, and you can see that I'm really not chasing my acrylic. It's basically staying where I put it, and then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to just let it naturally flow down, and I'm just going to help it as it's flowing down. I think it was a little too warm in my acrylic room, or in my nail room, because the acrylic was drying a little faster than I'm used to, but you know, you make adjustments and you work with it. It still turned out really good as far as I'm concerned. And as you can see, I'm just a little light right there in the middle, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and I'm going to fill that in. And I'm just going to pat it in and lightly feather it down. And then I'm going to smooth out the top, so when I do my cuticle and nail bed area, there's not a really big lump there. And as you can see, I got a little too much monomer on my brush that time, so it's dripping down just a little bit. So I have to go ahead and I have to redo the centerpiece because I had a little too much monomer and I washed it away. Hey, but practice makes perfect. I'm getting better every day at my acrylic application because I practice as much as I can. And when you have the right equipment, it makes all the difference in the world. Trust that. That's why I really love this Dashboard Beauty acrylic brush. It's a number 12 and it's the perfect size for me. Some people like the 14 and the 16s, or some people like the 10s and the 8s. I really like this number 12. It works out better for me than the bigger ones or the smaller ones. And as you can see, it's very easy to work with, and it really makes the application process a lot more simpler. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to feather that last bead up towards the cuticle because you don't want to flood the cuticle. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm just going to push it up a little bit, and I'm just going to fill in the cuticle area without touching the cuticle or without getting any on the skin. And then I'm going to check it from all angles and make sure that it is even and there's no dips or valleys that I have to fill in. And then I'm going to clean up around the cuticle, and I'm going to clean up around the skin, and I'm going to check out the apex to make sure that the structure is good on the nail, and just build it up just a little bit more, because when you have longer nails, you really want to have a good structure. And that's what's nice about acrylic, is it's easier to build a structure on your nails because it dries and you can see exactly where you need a little bit more, or you know exactly where to file if you have a little bit too much. And like I said, I'm not a master at acrylic. I actually started off with polygel, doing nails and making press-on nails with gel polish. But I try to practice my acrylic as much as possible, and if you look at this application compared to what I used to do 6 months, a year ago, it is getting a lot better. You just can't rush it, and you just need to pay attention to what you're doing. And as you can see, the application's done, the acrylic's dry. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to hand file the sides and crispen up my shape a little bit more, because I like that tapered square look. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to crispen up the free edge to keep that nice square look to the nail. And when you're doing the filing with the hand file, you really want to pay attention to how long you're filing each side. Like I'll count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I'll switch sides, because you don't want your nail to be uneven. And you don't want one side to be filed in more than the other. So then what I'm going to do is after that, I'm going to take my e-file, and I'm just going to go around and I'm going to seal in the cuticle and get the extra acrylic off so that my nail doesn't start lifting. And then I'm going to go over the surface of the nail and make sure that it's nice and even and that there's no peaks and valleys in it. And just continue to crispen it up, and just make sure I end up with a smooth surface. And be careful when you're working towards the cuticle and the apex area, because you don't want to file down too much. You want to make sure you maintain the structure of your nail. And then after that, I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to brush some of the dust off, and then go ahead and start buffing the nail with my hand buffer. And that takes out all the scratches and everything from that the filing causes, and makes a super smooth surface for you to finish your nail application. And then I'm going to take a little bit of a rougher buffer on this one, and I'm going to go ahead and just make sure that everything's nice and smooth. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to dust off the rest of the nail dust and make sure that the nail surface is nice and clean, so I can go ahead and I can get on with my nail design. So today I decided just to do a quick and easy design. I'm just going to use some nail foils. Ooh, excuse me, I can't even talk. And when I do my nail foils, what I like to do is I like to put the glue on where I want it. And then I like to cure it for 60 seconds. And then I let it sit for a couple minutes. Well, not even a couple minutes, but like another 30 to 60 seconds. And let it cool down a little bit, and that makes it tackier. And then the nail glue sticks to it just a little bit better. Now you can either use a handheld UV LED light, or you can use the desk one like I'm using, or you can just throw it into your big nail lamp. It doesn't matter. As long as you just make sure that the entire area is covered with the UV and LED light to make sure that it's getting taken care of. So now that this is done curing, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pull out my nail foil. And I am just going to place the nail foil right where you see the glue. And I'm going to take my little, I don't know what you call those things. We'll just call it the nail rubber for right now, because I can't remember what the name of it is. But at first I try and go ahead and I smooth it down evenly with my finger, and then I go ahead and I just keep rubbing with that little rubbing tool until I feel comfortable that the nail foil is stuck exactly where I want it. And then I go ahead and I just peel it off. And when you're rubbing it, you can tell because the cellophane that holds the nail foil will start to lift and it'll be clear. See how it just comes off flawless? Right exactly where you want it. And then I'm going to go ahead and just take a little gold reflective gel liner and go ahead and just spruce up the design with a little bit of reflective polish that seems to match the color of the nail and the foil perfectly. And then I'm going to let that cure for 30 to 60 seconds. And now that the nail is done curing, you can see our finished product. Beautiful, crisp application. And I'm just going to go ahead and throw a top coat of high gloss top coat, no wipe, gel top coat on there. And then I'm going to let it cure for another 30 to 60 seconds. And then we have a beautiful product and a beautiful nail set. I want to thank you guys for watching this video. If you're new here, please make sure you smash that subscribe button. And go ahead and smash that thumbs up button and just leave me a comment and let me know what you think, or if you guys want to see me try something. Other than that, I love your faces. And if you're interested in this Dashboard Beauty 100% number 12 acrylic brush, I will have it linked down below for you. Other than that, I love your faces, and I will see you guys in the next one.